Hello and welcome along to Adobe After Effects Basics with your host Robert Smith. In this video we're going to look at what's called trimming a video. In the last video we just dragged what we had on our videos onto the timeline. In this video I'm going to show you how to actually trim them before you drag them onto the timeline. But the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to neaten up my project window. To do that I'm going to select these four videos like that. I'll select the top one, hold the shift key down, select them like that. I'm simply going to drag them onto this folder icon down the bottom down here, and it'll make a folder for me, and I'll call it sequence. And they're the videos I use to sequence. I'm going to use the same videos, but I always like to duplicate that folder. If I'm going to trim something, I need a new set of references, if you like, or links. Now, I haven't actually made a massive file by doing that. I've just actually copied the link to the video, so that's no big deal. Now, what I mean by that is, if I look at these things, this video, it'll tell me up here that it's 1287.20 and it's 2.23 seconds long, which is not very long, 20, etc. There's all the details. Now, if I double click on that in the project window, it opens up in something called the footage window. I think that's what it's called. I'm not sure, but that's where it happens. Okay, so if I just double click on that, you'll see now you've probably been in this area many times by double clicking on a layer in the timeline and wondered where you were and what this was all about. Now, this is all about trimming a video. Now, it's got lots and lots of icons and can look quite complicated, but we're just going to look at the in and the out point setting. In other words, we want to trim this video, the in point where it starts and the out point where it ends. To do that, we simply drag this blue thing along the line here like that, and you can see the videos reflecting where we are in time. Let's say I want to start here where the ship starts. So to do that, I just drag my, let's call it a second playback head to here, and click on this thing called the in point. And you'll notice this part goes away. And that's what we're going to see. So if I go a little bit further, let's say I only want that ship to come out like that. That's all I want of that video. Okay, now I'll press this point here, or the out point. And now all we're going to see when we drag that on the timeline is this much of the video. Let's do another one over here. We'll go to this harbour one here. Let's say, for example, I'll drag it. I want just her in it. So I'll just drag my in point to there and click in point, and let's say I want all of that up to about here, and then I can set my out point by clicking here. So what this means is you can shoot a bit more footage than you need, and then come in here and trim it to whatever you want. But a tip is don't do too much footage. Do a little bit more than you need, because once you have massive amounts of footage, it can be quite painful going through them. Okay, so let's say we want this one to start here. Then we move along a little bit to about there. And we want this one to end there, so we click on the out point like that. And let's do this one as well. Let's say we want that to start where the feet come in about there. So we click that. And then we just drag along a bit further to about here, say, and that's our out point. So now these four videos have been trimmed. So let's put those into action. I'll start a new composition like this. Apple N, trimmed, we'll just call it. And the usual 1287.20, 25 frames per second. Okay, so let's grab these videos and drag them onto the timeline, the ones we've just trimmed. And you'll notice they're two coloured now. They're half sort of turquoise and half transparent. What that's telling you down here is where it's blue or turquoise, that's what you'll see, and the rest of it where you can't see, that's the part you've trimmed, as you can see at the beginning and the end of each of those, which is great. And what After Effects does, it sets the in point to where you started from that project or the footage window. So let's get to sequencing. We simply do the same thing we did in the last video by going animation, keyframe assistant, sequence layers like that. Now, we don't really want any overlap in this, or you can decide if you want overlap, but these videos are quite short, so you probably wouldn't put any overlap in these. So I'll just turn that off, and OK. Let's have a look at that. Now all we see of those videos is the part that we trimmed, which is fantastic. We really love that. Now we can always go down here onto the timeline and actually bring that part back that we took out just by dragging these left and right. Let's see if I can drag those left and right. They're all selected. If I select one and say I want this one to be a bit longer, I wasn't happy with that, I could just drag it there, drag it left and right again to set my in and out point. It's the same thing. I would have to resequence them, of course, because now I've just moved them out of sequence, but I would just normally just get zoom in a little bit like this, using this thing down here, or using the great little magnifying device there, and just simply eyeball it like that. Or I would, for example, select this layer here, the bottom layer, and go to the out point of that, which will give me exactly where that finishes. And then I might just zoom out a little bit. Again, I can use this to do that. And you can see I thought I had it butted up, but no, it's a bit out, so I'm just going to move that to about there, like that. So you can do it. That's another way of actually editing on the timeline. Okay, thanks for watching.